Hello, everybody. Welcome into Indiana basketball after the game post-game show with Todd Leary. Indiana versus Louisville today at Madison Square Garden for the third place round of the Empire Classic. The first losers, I guess, is the best way to put that.
Yeah.
And it kind of looked like that for a while, but I don't want to be negative. Indiana gets a win, an important win, and there were a lot of positives to take out of that, especially off of the bench. Bench players that came in and performed at a high level. I mean, not a high level, but they did the things they needed to do that
30
Indiana
points.
needed to do. That's a lot. Caleb Banks was doing what he always does, busting his ass and grabbing the ball and doing those garbage buckets, whatever you want to call it. Sparks, how about Sparks? Big man getting off the floor, throwing some down. The shooting, of course, we'll talk about is still non-existent.
Yeah.
Non-existent. Suspect? I think it's non-existent.
I was being nice.
Yeah, I know. But Indiana gets the win. That is the let's see. I think they lead the series now 12-9 from what I recall seeing that. So, wow, that was it almost got to be a scary time at a moment because that was a game that Indiana just could not lose, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question you have to come out of that game with a win. Louisville, I think one of the questions so far, one of the things that people have said about Indiana is they played lesser talent, at least physically lesser talent, in guys that are not equal to them in size and strength and all that. And that's not the case with Louisville. Louisville has struggled, obviously. They struggle to shoot the ball the same as Indiana does. So they kind of mirror each other in that regard. But this is a bigger, more physical team. This is the best team Indiana's played so far, and they come away with a victory. So you have to look at the positives of that. 30 points off the bench. My goodness, I mean that's way more than you expect and can ask for. I mean, I think 20 points off the bench would be a miracle, and to get 30 points off the bench is awesome.
Yeah, they got them in a lot of different ways, too. And before I forget, shout out, of course, to Hoosier Hanks East, where neither of us are tonight because of travel.
We're going to be back there.
For travel commitments, obviously, I'm here, and Todd's traveling, so it's not always going to work out perfectly. But don't forget about our friends at Hoosier Hanks East over off of College Mall Road. I can't wait to get back there and get some of that food. And I'm not kidding. I can't wait to get back. This is a tiring city,
Yeah.
but it's a fun place to be no matter what. The turnout by the Indiana fans was spectacular. Yesterday's environment was NCAA tournament-esque, like even though that they did not perform like the fans would like to have seen them perform, but they get the win today. They bounce back. They get the win. They move forward. They keep learning. He was after in the postgame presser. Woody was asked about Mackenzie Mgbako and if he has concerns about where he is, and he just said, "Man, exactly what he said was." Man, he's a young kid. He's got that 5-star tag on him that you all put on him, and I think that's bullshit.
That's what he said.
That came straight from Woody. So he's going to protect his players, but I understand that he's a young player, but we're 4 games in now, and it's not a ton of the schedule, but you'd like to start seeing some progress, and I'm not sure that. What did you see tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small sample size, so let's all be aware and recognize that, and I think we all do. But I'll just say there is something going on with Mgbako that's not basketball related, and I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm just saying, like, it's pretty evident his transition from high school to college, and I'm going to say, from a living arrangement, is in not being at home. Maybe I'm not sure what it is, but something's not right. You can tell by the look on his face. I shouldn't say that. I feel like I can tell by the look on his face that he doesn't feel right. He doesn't look right. He doesn't look comfortable. He looks like he's thinking too much. And I'll play Jay Williams here for a minute, like he did. You didn't get to see it, but the entire broadcast for 2 days was basically Jay Williams talking about himself. And I loved him as a player. I actually love him as an analyst. He just talks a lot about himself. But I mean, those guys all even commented on the fact of Mgbako just didn't look comfortable. He doesn't look like he fits in right now, and there's something going on with that, and I don't know what it is. The whole deal with him getting in trouble before. Like, he's a great kid. I've met him personally. He's very outgoing, like a very nice, well-spoken kid. Like, something's up, and I don't know what it is. So I'll be Jay Williams for a minute, and I'll relate it back to my recruiting class and Lawrence Funderburk, most talented player by far in our class, and he just didn't transition well. Like, something wasn't clicking. It wasn't Coach Knight yelling at him. Something didn't transition well. He wasn't comfortable. He didn't like it here. And I'm not saying that's Mgbako's case. I'm just saying there are some similarities to that circumstance. And I think it'll go one of two ways. I think either he'll shut down and not ever become comfortable, or at some point he'll kind of snap out of it. And I don't know whether that involves basketball, where he makes his first 5 shots and all of a sudden he feels more involved. But right now he's struggling to figure a way to stay involved in the team atmosphere. And therefore, I mean, he played 9 minutes tonight. And that's been about the norm. It's been, 9 to 15 minutes for all 4 games. And he's way more talented than that. I mean, I know the numbers don't show it, but you just got to take my word for it. He's the best shooter on the team. If they shot 1,000 shots, he would by far be the best shooter on the team.
Yeah, 0 for 3 from behind the arc for him tonight, but the entire Indiana team stunk up the joint back there. 1 for 11. I mean, I think that I could almost throw in, if you give me 11 shots at it, and I know that they're playing defense out there and all that, but I'm like,
not most of these shots. Most of these shots are pretty much.
I know open. There was a wide open look at the top of the key for Anthony Walker, maybe toward the end. I forget, but it was just a wide open look, and it just didn't go down.
Galloway had a wide open. He was 0 for 4 tonight from 3, and I mean, like, you're right. I'm with you. I think all Indiana fans, it's early in the season. We need to focus on the positives, stay in that category. But I mean, you can't hide from it. You're not going to win very many games where three three-pointers is the most you make. They only made 1 tonight, 1 for 11. And I think, 3 is the most we've made in a game so far. And you're not going to win very many Big Ten games only making 3 3-pointers in today's college basketball.
No, and of course the big topic is going to be Woody going to that zone at the end of the game. That really the game was in doubt. It was literally in doubt, and then Indiana goes on this run.
Well, I mean, I'll just say it. I'll be Jay Williams again. I was screaming at I was watching it on my phone as I was driving today, and I was screaming at my phone, go to a zone. That's what Louisville did. Louisville saw that we weren't making very many shots, so they went to a zone, and Indiana struggled against it. Now, they started beating it, started throwing it inside, and made a couple good moves, got a couple of easy baskets, and that took Louisville out of it. I'm telling you, please, I don't think Indiana fans are so hardcore man-to-man defense that anyone cares if we play a zone. As long as they get good at it and win, I don't think anybody cares. And I'll tell you, as a Coach Knight disciple, we practiced in a zone defense a lot of times because it helps teach you the help rotations. I'm using help too much in a sentence here, but it helps you learn how to help. And then if you transition that to man-to-man defense, like I'm telling you, there was hundreds of times we would be playing in a game and the teams would call out their zone offensive sets because they thought we were in a zone because of just where we were positioned from a help defense perspective. But we weren't. We were in man-to-man defense, and if you could go back and watch some old game films, you would see us start laughing on the court because these guys are calling out these zone plays, and then they think we're playing a matchup where you're switching back and forth the defenses, and we weren't. We were playing man-to-man the whole time. It just made it look that way. And hey, I hope they get to that point where they find something that they can they can build on, because Indiana's struggling defensively. I think we've all agreed with that, and that should be their strong suit. You might struggle to make shots, but defense is really effort, and with the athleticism that we have, I mean, we should be a really tough defensive team.
Well, here's two more positives for you. They did not get out rebounded tonight.
Yeah, I know.
That was the first for a while. And the assists, 18 assists on 24 made baskets.
Yeah, 5 yesterday.
Yeah, and Louisville has 9. But 18 on 24 though. That's a freaky percentage.
And think about this. Think about that with 1 for 11 from the 3-point line. Like, all very, very seldom is there a 3-pointer that's not assisted. I mean, you don't dribble into those very often. So that number could have been really outrageous had they just shot, 30% from the 3-point line. Like, they could have really, I want to stay focused on the positive with you. You started it. You're right. We got to stay on the positives. When they were down by 8, I did not see a way back. I didn't see the fight on defense. I didn't see that we were going to get that many stops. And Louisville was just driving the ball to the rim and getting fouled every time. And we fouled way too much. And they figured out a way to win. I mean, that's a big deal this time of the year.
PD Man says that he asked, does anyone teach proper shooting from it more? He thinks that it's mechanical. I don't think it's mechanical. I think it's mental.
Well,
I mean, rushing shots and which you can say that's mechanical, but
let's just say it this way. And so let's go all the way back to let's see if we had to sit down and describe each of our players and what their strong suits are. You can start. I don't think anyone would start out saying Xavier Johnson is a pure shooter. Now, he has become a much better shooter later in his career. Like this year, I think he's our most consistent 3-point shooter, to be honest with you. But I don't think anyone would label him a 3-point shooter. Trey Galloway has never been he's a slasher. He's never been considered a standstill outside shooter. I'm gonna keep going down the list, and we're not gonna be able to name one. Mgbako is the only guy that is a designated shooter on our basketball team. Now, that doesn't mean guys are not capable of making shots. Malik Renew is very capable of making threes. I hope he keeps shooting him. He shot better in the preseason than he did in the game so far, but he's very capable, and it stretches the defense. And if he gets on a little bit of a run, making a couple of them, it'll get the defense out even farther and help Khalil Ware even more on the inside. But Jim, we don't have a roster full of guys that are shot makers, that are 3-point shooters. And they weren't that when they were recruited, and they're not that now. And so I don't know why we expect a whole lot more from the 3-point line, other than I seem to see guys go other places and improve and get better. And I think we've got guys that are capable of it. I think CJ Gunn should be a good shooter. I think the note that we had there a second ago on, our guys' technique is not right. I mean, CJ Gunn has a fairly major flaw that could be fixed really easily. You're right. I agree with that. But for the most part, we just don't have a bunch of guys that are 3-point shooters. They weren't recruited as shooters.
What do you think that flaw is?
With CJ Gunn?
Yes.
Yeah, he shoots. So he has bad rotation. I'm going to simplify it. Say he has bad rotation on the ball, and that's because he shoots the ball. So if you take a basketball and you cut it in half of the basketball is on the left side of his face as a right-handed shooter. So I mean, he's cockeyed like this. So the ball's not rotating properly, and that's all because his hand position is just in the wrong spot. And it's I get to go to practice a lot. I'm very fortunate. I hope they don't ever take that away from me. But I mean, sitting over there, I think it's one of the gifts I was given is basketball knowledge. Like I just early on learned how to shoot and how to fix shots and how to do things. And I think his shot is very easily fixable.
That description reminds me of Xavier, because he really has a pronounced.
Well, Xavier Johnson, you're talking about?
Yes.
Well, Xavier's biggest issue, and I've said this for years, until he's much better at it now, but he's still not great at it. So imagine doing your own air shot right now. Imagine your elbow not getting higher than your chin. That's how Xavier shoots. It's hard to do, and he still does it to this day. He's just done it so much, he's gotten to the point where repetition, he's good at it. But imagine shooting a shot where your elbow never goes higher than your chin. Like, I mean, most people, like, we're up here. Like, your elbow's above at my eye level, and his stays all the way down here. And that's just, I mean, there's no point in trying to change that in something right now. Here's the thing. So I would never suggest Xavier changes his shot, the structure of his shot, the way that it is in the season. Like in an off season, yes. CJ Guns, that's not changing the structure. That's just doing his mechanics properly. And you know, I use this example all the time for golfers. Golfers have swing coaches that work with their swing all year long. Now they're looking to tweak something little in a golfer's swing. The same thing is true in shooting the basketball. Like, you need someone to tweak that's why a lot of people will say, oh, my dad recognizes my shot. Michael Porter Jr. with the Denver Nuggets right now, he always says best shooting coach in the world is my dad because he's seen me shoot the most shots. He knows when I'm doing something a little bit funky. And that's really accurate and true. I mean, you see these guys, like, it's pretty obvious that some of the little technical things that could be adjusted to make them more consistent shooters. That's not restructuring a whole shot. I would never mess with Xavier the way he is. One, he's confident as heck. Like, that's a big factor in it. CJ Gunn's not going to become confident until he starts knocking some of them down, and he's not going to knock them down consistently until he changes his technique.
It doesn't seem like that part of the game is being emphasized in the offense, but part of that's because it's not successful, and I understand that. But it's something that they can't ignore. It has to be incorporated into the offense, or it's going to cost them games. I think
it's going to. Yeah, there's no doubt it's going to cost them games if they can't figure out a way to make shots. And I mean, I'm not saying they have to become a team that makes 13 threes a game, but you've got to be able to make 5, 6, 7, 8 threes in order to win some of these games on the road in the Big Ten that you're going to win. And hey, I understand. I know Coach Woodson's response or reaction to that would be, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not our strong suit or whatever. But trust me, no coach is going to turn down guys making shots from the outside. It makes everything easier. It makes the offense look better. It makes the offense easier to run. I mean, think how much easier it would be on Malik if he wasn't getting double teamed every time he touched the ball for the last 2 days. I mean,
they were pounding on him.
He had 18 and 12 in the 2 games, and he could have had 40 and 25 in those games if he's not getting double teamed. Well, they don't have to worry about double teaming because they're not worried about the shots.
Indiana got to the free throw line 34 times. They made hay when the sun was shining today too. They shot nearly 74%. So that's what you've got to do, and so that's a positive that they've kind of picked that up here of late. And like I said, seeing those, I noticed at first with Sparks, I could just tell he was getting more confident as the seconds went by. Yeah. Like, give me that ball again. The big guy was going, and then Anthony Walker, I didn't realize it, but I was like, oh hell, he's got more points than Sparks. He was quiet. His points were kind of quiet to me.
He made 5 free throws. Those that you don't usually add those up in your head when you're seeing how a guy's playing. So, yeah, you're right. But I mean, he got some easy baskets like that. That's the big factor I think with Indiana is they struggle so much sometimes on the offensive end that those easy baskets really free things up. They really make it better for everyone involved. And I thought Bates, Walker, and Sparks, all 3 tonight were major contributors in getting down the floor, running the floor, getting some easy baskets, putting the pressure on Louisville. If we could have just had someone step out and knock down 2 or 3 3-pointers, I mean, that game might have gotten out of control early on in the first half, but it just never happened.
And don't think the Big Ten is not going to be tough this year just by this score right here. Wisconsin up 65-41 with a minute to go against Virginia. And that's not the only one. Purdue beat Gonzaga today. The Big Ten is going to be
no
another.
one's saying the Big Ten's going to not be any good.
Whoa, it's going to be another meat chopper of a schedule.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Indiana's got to jump right off the bat here, in 2 weeks or a week and a half, and start with a couple of big games right off the bat. Was it Maryland and Michigan? Who do we have? Maryland and Nebraska?
Oh, Michigan.
Is it Michigan? Yeah, at Michigan.
Yeah, and Maryland's been terrible.
Maryland's been struggling, but you know what happens in that regard. They come in here and they'll make their first couple shots, and yeah.
And Michigan has not been struggling. They've been playing kind of well, and will have the home court advantage there. But we've talked about some positives, but the negatives that we've also mentioned: the 3-point shooting, the foul trouble.
Yeah.
These guys. This is 2 days in a row that Indiana got into some severe foul trouble, and it happened early. And they've done that 2 days in a row, and that is a very dangerous trend to get into. Today the bench was able to come on and put 30 points up and help them out. But again, you do this in a Big Ten game, sorry about your luck, probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing you can't do is just put teams at the free throw line. Indiana was fairly fortunate that Louisville didn't shoot great from the free throw line, but it kills everything when you get a defensive possession and then you get a foul. You rotate properly and do everything well for 20 seconds, and then you get a foul in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock. I mean, that's a killer. I mean, that's hard to ramp back up again and play another 30-second possession. So, the foul trouble is an issue. The zone was probably a part of the issue with that. Michael's comment on the officiating. We're always going to complain about the officiating. I agree with you, Michael. You're right. Like some of them.
There were some bad calls. But there always are going to be.
Yeah, the inconsistency is what you can't stand. When you get guys that are the foul call on Xavier Johnson. I mean, imagine if that had been his fourth foul or something at that point in the game. I mean, he didn't even touch that guy. Like, he literally did not make physical contact with him. I mean, that's tough to overcome. That's one an official should have to answer for, but they're never going to. And we're just beating our head against the wall, worrying about it. But we're always going to have calls that we don't agree with. Even in games like this that we win, we're going to have calls that we don't agree with. That's a part of the game. I wish it would become a point of emphasis for the team, for Xavier especially, to stop focusing on the calls and just understand, what's the definition of insanity? Same thing happening over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right.
It's going to happen over and over again, Xavier. You complain about it every single game. It never helps. So let's just stop complaining about it. I think it takes him out of his game from time to time. And, I think he starts to worry too much about it. So let us complain about it. Let us bitch and moan about it. But that's something that I hope that they address.
And just so fans understand, man, this is early in the season. Kentucky is up at the half, 41-38 over St. Joseph's.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, look, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is kind of struggling. This is, I'll say, this is a transfer portal result. A lot of these teams are good. A lot more teams are good, I guess I should say. There are some obvious teams that I think that are in an upper tier. I think Kansas, obviously. I think Purdue, obviously. Probably Marquette. Those teams are in a little bit of a different tier. But how many times do we say that during a season and that team doesn't win the national championship? And, last year, UConn had a ton of publicity and hype behind them early in the season. And then as soon as the Big East started, maybe not as soon as, but a couple games into the Big East, they had a 5 out of 6 game losing streak, and everybody wrote them off. And then they win every game in the tournament by 20. So, I mean, it's a matter of getting your team, the Tom Izzo effect. It's a matter of getting your team to peak at the right time. And that right time is mid-February right before the conference tournament conference tournament starts and into the NCAA tournament. And this team has just got to. They can't fall too far behind. This is not a guaranteed NCAA tournament team right now. And I'm the first one that will argue and say this team should make the tournament. I think that, but we're not a lock in the tournament right now.
But don't look. Without looking, do you know who was Indiana's leading rebounder today?
I'll say Walker.
Caleb Banks.
Dang it, that was in my. That was my.
Off the bench.
How many?
I was just going down 8. He out rebounded Khalil Ware, which he had foul trouble, but that's what he does. But Indiana has got to start getting. They're still not rebounding.
But that's the contribution that you've got to have when you come in off the bench. I mean, he's not a great shooter. Okay, he's capable, but he's not a great shooter. But what contributions can he make? I mean, he not only that, he had 8 points and 3 assists. Caleb Banks was Xavier had 5 assists. But besides that, he's our second leading assist.
He did have
guy.
3 assists, though. Yeah, he had 3 assists.
He had a great stat line. Guy that plays 25 minutes off the bench is 4 points, only 1 of 2 shooting. Now, he missed 2 free throws. The crazy part is he made his first 2 and missed his second 2. But that just tells you he's a capable shooter, but not.
You can see his improvement. He is just growing.
He's comfortable. These are the most minutes I'll bet he's never played 25 minutes in a game before.
And one of it was probably the first 3 he attempted, but when Mackenzie Mgbako, it looked like as soon as he touched his hands, he tried to shoot it. It was never comfortable. He was never set. And I just think he's just not getting relaxed. Like we saw him nail those corner 3-pointers. He's not setting himself. He's not allowing himself to get set. He's feeling forced to take a shot.
He's not comfortable. He's not confident. He's hoping it to go in right now. And good shooters even get to that point sometimes. I mean, you can't make a shot. And all it takes for a guy like him, like I'm just telling you, yes, I'm going to play a know-it-all in this one. He's a shooter, and as soon as he sees a couple of them go in, the floodgates could open. But like I said earlier, look at the look on his face. Like he doesn't look totally engaged. Something's not connecting right now. I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm just telling you that's me looking at it on TV.
11 and 7 for Anthony Walker off the bench. 9 and 3 for Peyton Sparks off the bench. And if he could hit a free throw, he would have been in double digits.
Yeah.
Man, he couldn't. He's playing so well, but he couldn't hit a free throw if he stood on the Brooklyn Bridge and threw it off there, man.
Yeah. I mean, some guys just struggle with it.
He's the Shaquille O'Neal of the Indiana basketball team.
Unfortunately, I have a couple of them.
For the fans, let's hope not. So Indiana now they got through this. This is a little tester, actually. It's a little test for them. These 2-day games against a very, very good team in UConn, who right now is beating Texas. I dropped the score where it was a minute ago. Yeah, it's 44-32 right now. So UConn with just about 49 seconds left to go in the first half. But UConn's a good team. Yeah, Indiana lost to a good team.
They got a good big guy on the inside. They've got a very veteran alpha dog on their team, and they've got guards that can shoot it. They've got all the tools. They really do.
Let's see. Also, Pete said, did anyone notice the bunny layup at the end of the game made it an 8-point win and therefore a Louisville cover? No, I did not. I was
Indiana
not.
Was favored by 8?
Yes. Well, yeah, they were.
Did the people not watch the game yesterday?
That's what I said. I'm like,
yesterday?
I was like, wow, that seems like a lot for this game, but
I'll be interested to see. I'm looking at the box score of the UConn game right now to see what they're doing rebounding wise with Texas. Texas is a big team, and that annihilation on the boards yesterday was. There was no other 44-22. I don't think I've ever seen a spread that big against 2 Power 5 schools in rebounding.
Michigan, I didn't. Michigan lost at home Friday night to Long Beach State. Another early season game. That's what's going to happen.
Hey, Michigan State lost at home to whomever it was. Like,
yes. See, we can't even remember who it was.
Yeah.
But this team, though, it had a lot of expectations, but a lot of that was because of people like me and talking about all this stuff. And like what he said, a 5-star comes in and people think that he's going to be the savior, the saving grace. And it just doesn't work that way, because you have to integrate that into the current team model. And Malik Renew is becoming a leader. I was watching him on the floor today. It was close enough to where he was telling guys and saying, hey, and he was getting in guys. I don't want to say he was getting in their face, but you could tell he was animated and he was directing traffic. You need to do this and you got to do this because, man, you got to do this. So you can tell he's becoming a leader.
And I'm going to say this. I feel comfortable saying it because Coach Woodson alluded to it. So I'm just going to kind of pile on with him. But I will say the ranking system is so flawed in that they actually, what they should call that is your athletic ability ranking, because they basically just take all the guys that are 6'10" with a crazy long wingspan, and you're immediately a 5-star. Like, you're in the top 25 immediately. As long
Not
as
a single coach makes these rankings either.
No,
it's not coaches.
These are all done by people, and I'm not knocking them. These people do research. They go to all the tournaments. They pay their money to do all this stuff. Like, I'm not knocking what they do. I'm just saying, if you take the ranking system and you look at it, it's mostly based on how tall and athletic you are, not necessarily how good of a basketball player you are. And let's just say it at least starts out that way. And that's how the ranking system gets to be the way it is. I don't care about the stars when a guy comes in. I want to see if you give me the proper height of guys, like give me guard size, give me a couple forward size, and give me a big guy or whatever, and they all play as hard as Gabe Cupps. And yeah, I'll use him because I think he plays harder than everybody else does. Or I'll even say he plays as hard as Xavier Johnson. I'll take him.
Yep.
I mean, I would win a lot of games with that team.
Ace asking who's going to
Taco Bell
East tonight. I'm definitely go to Hoosier Hanksy's, but it won't be tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah. Nope. Unfortunately, it won't. But I can't wait to get back there because I'm starving.
So what's next for this team?
I mean, I'll say clean some things up. I'll say, work on. I'll say they're probably going to go back. I have no idea, only guessing, but I'm just going to guess they haven't practiced that 2-3 zone a whole lot. That might have been the first time they've ever played it. I don't know.
According to X, yeah, they haven't.
But I'm going to guess they're going to practice a little bit. And I'm telling you, we used the 2-3 zone in practice mainly. I'll say we might have played it like 3 possessions in a game my entire career at IU. But we used it in practice to help teach the zone or the help side defense principles. And it can have an impact. It can work. I mean, hey, Indiana isn't the only team in the country that struggles to shoot the ball. There's a lot of them. They just played one. You might use it a lot.
How important was it to see those bench players get those minutes? That was a lot of minutes.
From a fan's perspective, yeah, we feel a little better about it. From those guys' perspective, confidence is a major factor in how well you play or how well you play over an extended period of time. And that has to give those guys tons of confidence. I mean, we saw Anthony Walker last year, and he looked great and confident with Miami coming in off the bench. And I don't think he ever felt comfortable here until this weekend. I thought he looked comfortable yesterday and today.
Yeah, this is a good point, but I'm not going to say he looks terrible because he looks like a freshman, is what he looks like. Gabe Cups. Gabe Cups, another night. This is back-to-back nights up here that he played
He
9
looked out of
minutes, and
place.
man,
He
he's
totally
got a
looked out of
lot of zeros on the stat sheet.
place. Yep. And you know what? Like, I'm not making excuses for him. You said it exactly right. He looked like a freshman. He looked like a guy who, you can do a lot of those hustle plays, maybe against the talent Indiana was playing before. You necessarily can't all the time. He's going to get more and more comfortable. And I'll tell you this is the only like a stand up, I guess I'll say, for Gabe Cups is Gabe Cups would be a great guy to play with. Okay. Now, I don't want him playing in place of Xavier. When Xavier got in foul trouble and Gabe's was our only option for point guard, not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable at all. I want him playing with Xavier. The two of them, I think he can make Xavier a lot better, take a lot of the ball handling responsibility off of Xavier. Let Xavier be almost a scoring guard a lot of times. I think he's more comfortable in that role. But I think Gabe's looked out of place for the last 2 days. I don't expect – when he shot the air ball, I said this yesterday in yesterday's show, that kind of told me he was nervous, okay? He's a good enough shooter. He shot enough shots. You don't shoot air balls from there unless you got some exterior factors involved. And I think it was pretty obvious he was nervous.
Yeah, he did not have the confidence that he has played with
Madison
earlier
Square
in this
Garden,
season.
Kids from Bumble, Ohio. Like, he's in Madison Square, he's in New York City. I'm going to guess he's never been in New York City before.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, man, that's going to wrap it up. There's a quick turnaround. They got another game coming up with Harvard. And don't sleep on Harvard. I keep saying those guys are smart. They'll figure something
They're
out.
not going to beat themselves. We know that.
No, I guarantee you they'll be good shooters probably as well. But cannot thank everybody enough. Of course, big thanks to Hoosier Hanks East. We can't wait to get back there.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. And big thanks to Todd Leary, of course. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here, and we're looking forward to it. I'll see you guys again tomorrow morning on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Until then, from New York City, Madison Square Garden, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.